with COVID and not doing face-to-face things anymore, we had to build some new skills. So I'm putting all of my content into my Thinkific site, and then also doing vlog with folks like you, where I'm just getting to know people sort of as the marketing side of it, but also to replace the executive conversations that I would typically have in my leadership classes with students who are senior managers, directors, senior directors who are looking to move to the next level.
Welcome to the Who You Know Show, where what you know is important, but who you know can make all the difference in your business, career, relationships, and life. I'm super excited. We're here today at Video Marketing World 2022, and this episode is brought to you by Real News PR. They're going to make you look like $1 million on TV. All right. Now, I'm even more excited about our guest today because Mike Rochelle, he has dedicated his life to helping leaders at all levels accelerate results in their life, their teams, and organizations through personal and digital transformation services and solutions. And today, he committed to burning some ships. So if everybody can give me a warm, who you know welcome for Mike Rochelle. Let's go! Mike, how are you, my friend?
I am doing great. This has been a great weekend.
It has been awesome, hasn't it?
It has.
So I literally, right before your interview, okay, we're in the conference.
Yeah.
And he was asking for people to stand up and kind of give their biggest aha moment.
Right.
And you did.
Yes.
And tell them what you said.
Yeah, so basically what I said is what I feel, which is that this has kind of been a great affirmation of the journey that I've been on for the last couple of months.
Talk to us about the journey you've been on.
So in the last couple of months, I've basically committed myself to my own company, again, Mike Rochelle and Associates, and my online brand, which is Leadership In. So Mike Rochelle and Associates does digital transformation services for companies from a management consulting perspective.
Okay.
Both project management offices, change management offices, things like that.
How did you get into that?
I've been doing IT for 30 years.
Got it.
So at one point I was the chief of staff for the CIO of Time Warner Cable. I've also been in consulting and been a divisional CIO many years ago.
Okay.
So I've been in the IT space for a long time, but for the last 23 years, I've been doing leadership development sort of as a hobby. So I did it for the Society for Information Management for 15 years, 17 years actually, and then for the last 7 years with the Association for Business Technology Professionals. But with COVID and not doing face-to-face things anymore, we had to build some new skills. So I'm putting all of my content into my Thinkific site.
Okay.
And then also doing some a vlog with folks like you, where I'm just getting to know people sort of as the marketing side of it, but also to replace the executive conversations that I would typically have in my leadership classes with students who are, senior managers, directors, senior directors who are looking to move to the next level.
Well, and you do that pretty well. You were actually just awarded at the DFW Technology Prayer Breakfast. Talk to us about the award that you received for that, for leadership.
Yeah, so actually, it actually connects to that original leadership class that I taught. Merv Tardy was one of my customers from Society for Information Management, and for many years, from 2000 to about 2014 when he passed away, he sent 2 or 3 people from his leadership team every year to my leadership class. So I knew him quite well. And he actually was one of the few leaders that would actually meet with me and talk about the individual things that he wanted those people that he was sending to work on. So he was a huge supporter of people. When he passed away, the prayer breakfast, he had started helping getting it going, but then he passed before he could enjoy a lot of it. But they created an award called the Merv Tardy Values in Leadership Circle. And I'm an inductee, so we're basically members. I think there are about 20 of us now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they have a new program going on in Frisco, right? I saw an email about that. It's like a technology prayer breakfast, or maybe it's not a technology prayer breakfast, but it's some form of technology breakfast in Frisco. Is that right?
So the technology prayer breakfast this year for the table hosts had several meetings with Dr. Stone as he was presenting his getting his message ready for the prayer breakfast. So one of those was in Frisco.
Okay.
And then they have a ministry called Transition Point, which is for job seekers.
Transition Point.
And their specialty is praying with people for their next job.
And you are the founding president or former president of the ABTP DFW. I always get that messed up.
It's the Association for Business Technology Professionals.
Got it.
Yeah, and 7 years ago we renamed it. A couple of years ago, it was originally in 1952 the Association for Machine Accountants Association, and then it was the Data Processing Management Association. Then it was the Association of Information Technology Professionals. And we just broadened it because people in marketing and finance and everybody now is doing technology.
Right.
So not just from a corporate IT perspective, but from a leader of people that are utilizing technology.
And they host a career, a job seeker workshop there. I've actually spoke there once.
Yeah. So at 4:00 on the fourth Tuesday, we have the Business Technology Networking Group.
Okay.
That's for seekers, for either
Got it.
career seekers who are in role and looking for new roles, or that are looking for roles. So yeah, you and the guys have come on the Who You Know show and talked a couple of times. And that's been going for about 5 years, and it's one of our best outreaches to the community.
Why? What started that? I want to dig into that. Where did that come from?
So when I was a board member of the Society for Information Management, there was a group in Dallas that was I don't remember what it was called, but it was for IT executives who were in transition. And that group had kind of died away.
Oh, okay.
So when we re-energized ABTP 7 years ago, we determined that was still a need in the marketplace. So when an executive is out of role, it's hard for them to join a group like SIM or the DFW CIO group because they're out of role.
Right.
So what we decided is that we would allow everybody to be a member regardless if they were in role or not. And the difference in our ethos is that it's from freshman in college through giving retirement. So basically anybody in business technology can be a member.
That's awesome.
For your whole career.
That's awesome. And I like the way you said re-energized, because one of the things I noticed in the career transition space in DFW was there was a lot of groups, a lot of resources. However, the energy was a little low, I felt. And so that was kind of my calling. I was like, I need to get in here because the job search is already a low point.
Yeah.
It's already a low energy.
That's right.
Right?
And you're alone.
You're alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out to a group.
Yep.
And if the energy's low there too, and you're bumping elbows with somebody else, and hey, how long you been in the search? And they're like, 18 months. What?
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh, like it's depressing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we need to put some energy into these groups.
That's right.
We need to, I want people leaving, feeling like they can accomplish the world and go out there and just crush it, and not feeling like more confused, depressed, anxious when they leave. And I saw that a lot in a lot of the groups.
Right. So, and again, because of that ethos that you're talking about, which is almost a depression kind of a state that some people can get into, we accept them as members. We don't allow them to pay as membership.
I like that. We don't allow them to pay.
Right. But then what we ask is that when they land,
pay it forward.
that they pay it forward. Exactly. Yes. They come and they join as a member, and then they be a part of our community.
I love that.
So 4:00 is the Business Technology Networking Group, and then at 5:30 we do our chapter meeting where we usually have a speaker to come in, and we're doing, in November 8th, we're doing cybersecurity thing. So the former Attorney General for the Department of Justice is going to be the panel guide, and we're going to have 3 CIOs who have had breaches in the last little bit.
Oh.
So they're going to talk about the breaches that he had, and then he's going to talk about, as if he were still the Attorney General, how he would go after the bad guys.
Nice.
So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, and he's a partner at O'Malgavy and Myers now, which is one of the largest law firms in the DFW area. So it's going to be a great time.
So I got a couple questions in the form of leadership, right?
Sure.
So, I'm an entrepreneur and growing my business and my practice and stuff like that. And I feel like I've got a lot of growth that I need in that department, right? There's some areas that I'm recognizing that I'm like, man, I could probably use some help with that.
Sure.
What are some of the principles that you teach people to become better leaders? Because I have a heart for it. I want to lead. But I feel like sometimes, like, my team is small.
Yeah.
And so the closer people get to you, they almost get the raw version.
Right.
Right. And sometimes that, like, I can be real short with people. I'm trying to think of some other things. I could just give it to you how I feel it. I'm very, very just kind of cut and dry. I don't sugarcoat it.
Right.
And like, if I didn't know you, if it was like a little bit further away, I might put a little extra
sugar on it.
it. You know what I'm saying? So, and so I know that's an area I need improvement of, but I don't know. So what are some things that maybe you would teach or train somebody to help them in the form of leadership?
Yeah. So for me, leadership is an inside-out experience, right? It is the way that we can grow as a human being. That's why the show that I do is growing the next version of you every day.
Okay.
Right. So, but that's also the motto of Leadership In. It's that it's an expectation that you're going to be a learner, right? So the fact that you know that you have a problem is a good thing.
Awareness, right?
It's awareness, right?
Yep.
So then the second piece is that I think of leadership from a servant leadership perspective. The great example for me is Jesus Christ,
Absolutely.
how he led his disciples and how he gave himself for the whole of humanity, right?
Amen.
So,
Amen.
so I mean, if you can't think of I can't think of a better leadership model than that. For those that are not Christian, Gandhi's a great example too, because he, through nonviolence, was able to get the British Empire to leave India and let their people go too. So it's a similar story that we've seen before too. So first step is to know that you need to grow and learn every day.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you think of a pie, a circle, there's a sliver of things that you know. And then there on the outside of that sliver, there's things that you know that you don't know. And then there's a universe of stuff all around that you don't know that you don't know, right?
Man, yeah,
so
that's the truth.
So in leadership, you surround yourself with people that know things and have skill sets that you don't have, that both complete you and make the team stronger, right? And by doing so, you cover more and more of the known universe of knowledge, and then with the strengths focus, I'm a Gallup strengths guy as well. You think of balcony behaviors and basement behaviors. So when you get frosty with somebody, it's typically going to be something that you're really good at. Okay. You have passion. You have a certain capability of focusing on excellence, right? And then, if you overdo that, to them, that's a basement behavior because you're hurting them with your strength. So if you just learn to what you said, which is to put a little bit of sugar on it, that's the basement behavior using your strength. You say, hey, Jody, what do you think about doing it this way? Or can you come up with a couple of different ways that we could raise the bar on whatever it is that they're doing?
Sure.
So that you're helping them to see that you want it to get better, but you're not using your bad self.
Right. Like telling them, "Oh, this sucks," or anything. No, I don't do that bad. But so for me, what I find is that, like, I call things out in the moment as I see them.
Right.
And I'm finding as I grow that that's not always the best time or place to address the thing that I see, but the reasoning and I guess my logic or excuse behind it is that if I don't, I will forget, and then it'll continue to happen or whatever. Right. And so I literally, I don't do it as a point of like, I don't know. I'm just like, hey, I just call what I see when I see. Sure. And, but again, there's less sugar on it that way than if you maybe take note of it, take inventory of it, maybe do a review and say, hey, here's been some things I've noticed or,
yeah. Well, there's some biological reasons why you do it the way you're describing it as well. So when we were less developed as people, let's just say in the far past, if a dinosaur came running up, your brain would tell you to run away, right? So that's the fight or flight response. So what happens is when you see that thing that you want to address, you immediately go to fight, right? Because that's your nature. I'm built like that too. I'm just reading between the lines on how, because the way you're describing this. So what you want to do is you want to engage your brain, your prefrontal cortex, which is the place where you think through things, and not react. Right. So this is the microsecond before you say something that you're going to regret. You think about it. You say, okay, I'm not going to say it that way. I'm gonna either tell them that I want to talk about it later, or I'm going to pull them aside. Right. And in that half a second of thought, you can control yourself, and that's EQ, right? It's emotional.
No, you're so right. You're so right because, I do that. I do that absolutely, and I think if you could take that pause, it usually works out better.
Yeah.
Than just coming out with it. My big mouth has always got me in trouble. I tell you what, my whole life.
Me too.
My big mouth. Oh, but hey, it's also it's worked in my favor sometimes too. So whatever. I'm learning. I'm learning control.
There's actually something to that too, because I know that you're a believer. You have to know that God made you unique. And the other thing about strengths is I know that for a fact, and I can prove it mathematically.
Okay.
We won't do it now, but if you want to call me on it, we'll do that later.
In our deep dive. Can we do it in our deep dive?
We'll do it in our deep dive.
There we go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
so
that.
I'm going to have Trevor on my show, which is a long format show, and we're going to go and have some time to do
You want to tell them a little bit about that show?
Yeah, so the Growing the Next Version of You show is brand new. I've had 4 episodes. This next Thursday on the 13th, which might be before this is run. It'll already have run on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Facebook.
Awesome.
It runs on the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Or every other Thursday. Sorry, I'm switching to the from ABTP to my stuff on the Thursday. Anyway, it runs every other week, and I have a long format show that I'm basically just asking you about who you are from a mind, body, spirit perspective. I am doing it interfaith because I want I want dialogue between people who have different ways of living, but also agree on a path forward where we are getting along, and it's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
And we just ask some questions about things that are on my mind. There may be some topics that have been bothering you in the ecosystem that you want to talk about that we'll talk about.
you can tear me apart, man. Just dissect me like a frog and just tell me like, hey.
This is all painless. It's all good. And then we end, and when we're done, Fanny Dunnigan's show on the 13th is going to be about an hour and 40 minutes. Most of them are going about 50 to 110 minutes.
Did I get connected to you through Fanny? Is that how that happened?
No, actually, well before Fanny, through the Business Technology Networking Group, it was Chuck Vanderwall.
That's right,
and
Chuck.
Yeah, he was actually the one that brought Fanny into ABTP and also into my
Chuck was in
knowledge.
Transition.
That's correct.
He was in transition. He came through our summit and stuff like that. And
that's right.
We did some work together, and then he introduced me. So that's kind of the cool thing about the DFW area is there's a lot of resources and a lot of groups.
Yep.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of those groups have they've simmered down since the pandemic, right? Like the in-person stuff, they've just kind of, and it's like getting them back. Are you seeing the same thing over there?
Our attendance is probably about half of what it was before the pandemic.
It's a shame.
This last year, we've been doing both live and in person. Next year, we're going to revert to only in person, just because we figure if we keep laying the pablum out there, people will stay home.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You're giving them an excuse.
And we need to get together. I mean, we're herd beings.
Absolutely. It's there's a place for virtual, but this type of thing is just not.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can get around people, build relationships, community, that's how career opportunities happen. I mean, they say like 70% of the jobs that get landed are through a network and connection.
Yeah.
It's through who you know. It's not through, actually, I think the number was 80%, not 70. But yeah, it's it's all about the network and the relationships that you're building in life.
Definitely. Yeah, so I am the founding president, but this year and next year, Toby Buckaloo is the president. So
Okay.
he has re-energized things. This year we did half of our meetings through the year as chapter meetings and half as just get-togethers at restaurants and bars, just to make it a little less arduous.
A little more, yeah,
and a little
okay.
more and a little more fun.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was
So-
gonna say. Fun, energy.
Yeah.
Remember I said the low energy?
That's right.
Fun, energy is what you need. Experience.
Yeah.
You need an experience that draws people out, because
That's right.
the pandemic got people so conditioned to being at home that it's like you have to have something to bring them out. If you don't have an experience for them, something like we're at right now, this is an experience. You know, you're going to leave with a transformation.
That's right.
When you leave this place.
Yeah.
And that's the goal anyways.
Yeah.
Like, don't we want to transform people? Don't we want to transform their lives? Otherwise, what the heck are we doing?
Absolutely.
So if you just come and it's just dry and like, blah, 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 and I've been to some of them meetings and I'm like, come on, y'all, we got to bring this energy up. So anyways, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing it. Tell the audience where they can connect with you, all things Mike Rochelle. Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, so the easiest is just go to LinkedIn. I'm Mike Rochelle MBA. There are a bunch of Mike Rochelles out there. I live here in DFW. You can also go to leadershipin.thinkific.com, where you'll see my courses, and that will be a growing community, of course, as the boats were just burned a couple of months ago.
Let's go. That's amazing. And I'm excited to see the growth that's going to happen through those courses and everything that you're putting together. And I think it's amazing. Burn those ships and let's rock, let's roll, let's go. Guys, that's the show.
Man.
It's all about who you know and a little bit of cash flow.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Who You Know Show podcast. My name is Trevor Houston, and if you've enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing wherever you listen and leave us a positive review to help us keep the mics on in the studio. Until next week, that's the show. It's all about who you know.